still there on the town dump on National.
Yeah.
Trying to think where, he's at him, but even if he wants to use his the master, he gave me the key, we were over there Saturday. They could intertwine that.
Welcome to a very quiet
Oh, yeah, like Daisy Chain.
so far. We have a public hearing tonight related to amendments to our adult cannabis law. And if you would, Matt, read the public hearing notice, please.
Notice of public hearing, Town of Wheatfield, a public hearing on Town Code, Chapter 200, zoning, adding regulation for adult use cannabis to be held Monday, June 5th, 2023, 6:45 p.m. at the Wheatfield Town Hall, 2800 Church Road, North Tonawanda, New York. Anyone interested may attend and be heard.
Anybody have any comments? Tim, why don't you give at least a few people here related to just the background on why we made some changes?
Yeah, so, the limited G is well.
Would you better speak into the microphone? Sorry about that. Larry didn't set it up right. Larry, you're right. No.
It's on. It's on.
Can you folks hear us back there or not?
We can hear you, not through there, but we can hear you.
Yeah, turn it up just a tad, Larry. Turn it up just a tad if you would. Any better? It's not doing anything.
Is the light from that?
Yeah.
Here's
how you got
Any better?
Yep.
Okay, so, just this brief background, back in 2021, when the state first legalized cannabis and started putting options for regulations around, most of the municipalities in Western New York were given the option to either opt in or opt out of having cannabis dispensaries or consumption facilities. So the town of Wheatfield, like a lot of other towns, ran on the best information that we had, which really wasn't great at the time, but a lot of people opted or did not opt out, which means they opted into the program. So as a result of that, for the town to be able to put controls in on that, we had to incorporate a draft law into our zoning code to address those things. Otherwise, the town would basically be accepting what the state's The state's minimums did not include any respect to zoning, so based on state guidance, they could go anywhere in the town as long as they were the minimum separation distances away from schools and community facilities and such. So the town drafted this law, and basically the provisions in there for our zoning code to limit this to just in the commercial zone. I think initially it also had the industrial zones in it, but we removed those to just keep it in commercial zones, similar to other places in the town that have, that allow retail sales. So there's three main parts. It's not a very lengthy law, but three main parts. One of them covers the dispensaries, obviously where you go to buy this. Another section of it covers the consumption, which is the bar where you go and buy some of it to have there. And then the third section of it, they call them micro businesses. And the best comparison I can put to that is it's like a microbrewery, something that actually manufactures something there in small quantities and has it there for people to try. And there are three separate sections, because each one of those, I guess, refers to different point of the state. So that's why we did combine one together and keep it in the same divisions that the state can do. So really, that's the gist of it. The distances that we have in here are the same distances that the state is proposing. My understanding, we can't get any more restrictive than those numbers. So we've got them in there. The other area that the town can adjust is the opening hours. The hours that these things are open. I believe the state has a minimum of 70 hours a week that these are allowed to be open. I think the timeframes that are in here are similar with other timeframes. It's not the bare minimum, but it's not excess. I want to say it's 4 hours. It's kind of like your normal business hours for businesses. So other than that, we have done a coordinated review through Seeker on this. I believe we've only to this day had one response from the DEC, and that was just to say that they had no issue with us being the agency and had no comment on the law. It also went on May 15th to the Niagara County Planning Board. So the Niagara County Planning Board actually did not vote in favor of this. And it's our understanding that they're not voting in favor for any of these laws in Niagara County just because they don't think consumption should be allowed in Niagara County. So, I think just didn't want to be a part of it, so I guess that's really what it is. Stating from that, so they are just advisory to the town board, although to approve this ultimately it'll need a supermajority vote from the town board if it does go that way. And we'll have to send a quick response to the Niagara County to tell them why we voted in county jury for what their recommendation was. It's a pretty easy reason why, being that we did not opt out, so we have to include it in our law. So we either put what controls we can in from a town standpoint on the zoning, or we take what the state has to allow it. But anyway, that was not. Any questions on?
Any comments or questions, Jess?
I think I read the paper, the city of Buffalo was trying to figure out how they could go after unlicensed. So if a business tries to sell cannabis and they don't have a license from the state, you're illegally selling it. And I think they were gonna try to fine them or do something to, stop that type of traffic from people selling it at a store that didn't have a real license. And I don't know what we can do that.
Well, I think, in the budget, process in the state, and I don't know exactly how they get legislation passed in the budget, but, the state, came up with some significant penalties. So I don't know if we can do it too, then apparently the state penalties are pretty.
So there's already penalties in place?
Right, from the state, they came out with all these, regulations, and like I said, through their budget process. So, and those were really significant. I can't remember off the top of my head, but thousands and thousands of dollars of fine if they're found to do it. So it may be almost double jeopardy for allow us to do our own fines as well. So it looks like, since the budget was passed in the state, it sort of superseded our ability. And plus, we don't have the really investigative staff. I mean, they're going to do, I suppose, statements or whatever statements that we look.
But who would be enforcing that, then the Niagara County Sheriffs?
Well, between the sheriff and the state, I don't know if they've completely decided that.
Not our confidence.
No, we don't have the authority to do that. So we won't, I don't see we'd be writing tickets for it anyway, but, I just wanted to talk and add on what Tim said. It would be, of all the 3 different types of businesses, it would be through a special use permit through the planning board, having a public hearing, so that gives us an additional layer of regulation. And our law, disallows, certain things that the state law would allow, like the drive-through ability to have drive-through, which I think is a good thing. And lastly, because as Tim said, the state did not, the county planning board did not approve. If we move forward and the town board chooses to adopt this new local law, we would have to do it with a supermajority of 4, because the county planning board denied it.
The only other thing that I would add on there is we did issue a memo a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago. There are a couple of suggestions that we have that we could put in there as strongly as one. The concern being on the consumption side of this. We can add things into the law. For example, requiring that if somebody's say they're smoking it in an establishment, it's got to have the type of air filtration system so that you can't smell this outside of not gonna be sitting on the open back deck of a patio establishment, people doing whatever, inside, or by strengthening that language in there. Also not allowing consumption of alcohol in the same places.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody, any comments? I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing is closed. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes before we start our regular board meeting. Rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we pray that you grant wisdom to all who are in authority, that order and justice may be upheld to the benefit of all citizens, and guide us to better serve the people of our community. Restrain those who seek to destroy our government. We ask your divine wisdom to rest upon our leaders to guide them and protect them. Amen.
For the record, all board members are present tonight. And we have our Adult Fire Company chief here, and Don, if you'd like to come down, but podium's not even set up. My goodness gracious.
Thanks for having me tonight. I'm here to address the need for volunteer firefighters, not just with Adams Fire Company, but with the entire county. As you know, we're lacking people to volunteer, and to provide a service, we need members. So today I'm here to announce that actually we started Saturday. We are conducting at Adams Fire Company, it's called 14 Neighborhoods in 12 weeks. And we're going to spend either a Saturday at 6 p.m. or a Sunday at 1 p.m. To go to our neighborhoods and ask and meet residents to volunteer for Adams Fire Company. We're going to be in our district, and we're going to explain to them what it takes to volunteer. I don't know if you know, 2 of every 4 people are interested in volunteering to give back to the community, and 1 of every 4 people is interested in joining the fire company, but they're too afraid to. And we wanna go to them, we wanna explain to them what it takes to, join Adams Fire Company, and, our goal is to get 12 new members this year. As you know, we did get a grant, recruitment retention grant. All the gear that the new member, would need is funded through a FEMA grant that we got. As you know, we have a LoSAP program, which is a retirement program here in the town. You get a $200 tax credit, on your taxes to volunteer, in your community. Also, I know Niagara Wheatfield's having their meeting Wednesday night to talk about, 10% school tax reduction for volunteer firefighters, and Starpoint is also talking about it. Also, the county is, implementing something right now for a 10% tax, decrease in your taxes to volunteer. Also down the line, Governor Hochul put in their budget to give, firefighters a stipend, for taking their time to either become an exterior firefighter or interior firefighter, and that's just coming to light now. So I'm just asking the community, to consider volunteering, whether it be with Adams or any of the other fire companies in the county. I got a list on the back of, the communities I am visiting in the next 12 weeks. And if we're not visiting your community, that doesn't mean that you're not wanted. There's certain streets that we can't do what we want to do on, like Nash Road, Shawnee Road, Niagara Falls Boulevard, Claimer Road, the busy streets. So we ask the residents on the streets that we can't visit to come to one of the nearest, subdivisions that we're visiting and listen to what we have to say and consider volunteering. There's a job for everybody. I talked to a gentleman, he was a CPA, and I says, you know, I understand you got a family and you don't have the time to be an interior firefighter, but how about donating your time to do our books each year? We have our books audited every year, which costs us a substantial amount of money. We have to think outside the box to our residents. There's a lot of professional businesses that live in our area that could help out the fire company financially, and we need people. And if we don't act now, I don't know what's gonna happen to the volunteer service. Thank goodness right now we got a good bunch of volunteers, but it's getting thin. I lost 10 members in the last year. So I need to get 10 or 12 members back now. And the younger generation, a LoSAP program doesn't mean anything to them. They're looking for instant gratification. So it's something we need to think about, moving into contract talks, whether we start giving them a stipend for every call they attend. They're looking for instant gratification. And in closing, I'd like the town board to consider, now that we're talking about tax reduction, is maybe considering every volunteer firefighter in the town of Wheatfield that's a property owner to take their fire tax off their tax bill. We could use the LoSAP program list to do that very easily, but to help you from the town board to consider that. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions or comments on this line?
I just don't want, like, false, maybe.
Kelly, I can't hear you, guys, come up front and talk.
I just don't want people, I'm sorry, I'm not being against you, but in order to get these exemptions from the county, I don't know about the rules, but Dave, can you reiterate this? I believe in the wording, you have to be accredited for 5 years. exemption, so I don't want you going around, you know, I get it, we need to draw people in, but in order for them to receive that tax exemption off the real property, they have to be credited, have enough credits, whatever you guys count as credit, for 5 years in order to be eligible.
Just like our low step.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that wording. I did email Matt Sigmund the copy of the resolution from the county, and he was supposed to pass it along to the other chiefs and everything, just in case you didn't get that yet, I can forward it to you. Okay, yeah, I just didn't want, like, you know, me prompting and then everybody come to my office saying that I was told I was getting this, you have to be there for 5 years for the credit and everything. Okay? Alright. Am I right, Dave?
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Here, hold on.
We can do to help out. Sample we discussed here, we put it on our website,
I just,
and something that's review.
Yeah, if you could put that in the, guess I'm not on. If you could put that in the Tribune, that'd be great, at least the dates of when we're coming. Or see if they would put it in, and just, hopefully, you could consider, taking the fire tax out of us that, are volunteering. You know, we use a LoSAP list of who was active and who attained their 50 points, to get, the $700 for retirement, just be a little extra bonus, down the road.
You know, down something we can look into, I don't know what the figures are, but obviously we'll have to figure it out.
Yes, sir.
See what it is. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Todd? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just to add to that, keep in mind that it's a choice. It's either off of your state taxes or your property tax. It can't be both. Also, you have to be a property owner within the town of the fire company in which you serve in order to be eligible for the property tax. Okay? Okay, thanks. Welcome.
Anybody else in public comment? Approval of the minutes, May 15th, 2023. Have a motion, please. Second. A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Yeah. Approval of bill payment for June 5th, 2023. Voucher number 202-30790 through 202-30896 for the total amount of $409,446.50. Could I have a motion, please? So moved. Second. And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Bills are paid. Paul Seaman is on vacation. Mark Clark, water superintendent.
Good evening, guys. Just wanted to give you an update. The water sewer department has been out flushing hydrants and operating the valves, along with servicing the grinder units for preventative maintenance when we got decent weather instead of waiting for like their time. We want to make sure everything is in good standing and repairing it as we find it. Also, we had a couple items that were on Auctions International that sold. 2005 GMC 3500 four-wheel drive with a plow. That went for $8,300, and then 4 tow behind generators that sold in the amount of $3,850. That's in the agenda tonight.
You recommend the approval of that?
I do recommend.
Anything else?
That's all I have to report.
Anything from Mark?
I got one question. I know you're selling the generators, but at one time, and this goes back maybe 12, 15, something like that, 20 years ago, the town hooked up a generator connection at Town Hall.
Yes.
And I don't know if that connection is active, if any of your generators still operate at, plugs that.
We still have that generator, Larry, at our shop that will run this town hall.
Okay, because I know when they put the new power in, we were without power here at Town Hall.
Okay.
And when the power went out here, you know, it was only Town Hall that was left talking about it before, but it didn't sound like it was that viable or easy to hook up, but we can test that. If we ever lose power here at Town Hall, I know we're gonna have a generator at the community center, but if we ever lose power again at Town Hall, we can plug that in and it keeps our network up.
Correct.
I mean, we don't have to have air conditioning, you know, I don't know what that generator operates, I don't think it's air conditioners and all that, but
Just so you know, we did test that generator years ago before we upgraded all our computers and everything else. The big concern is that we plug it in, we may do damage. So, you know, Larry, maybe, and I did talk to Richie too about keeping that generator, they kept it. But I think we should probably have maybe our electrician.
and we could even have Lynx technology come out, if we're gonna take the power down.
Sure.
Lynx, we could do it on an off day.
Sure, do a run cycle on it.
There's some holidays that we're off, but, you know, Lynx doesn't get off every holiday.
Right.
They could come in on a certain Monday or something like.
So I think the big issue was any damage to the computers.
Yeah.
And what we have is heat and light, but not all of the building lights up. We had a certain circuits just for the emergency power.
So I'm just thinking in the future, if we ever have another outage or snowstorms or anything, I mean.
Then we could arrange something, I could bring the generator
Yeah.
over, have people look into it.
Between Larry and you and I will pick a time where we can do this, and,
We would need, probably Joe Malloy involved also.
Yeah, we can coordinate that.
we talked about it a couple of years ago.
And I have one more thing,
Sure.
just a wish list, I know we painted the water tank last year, it'd be nice if we could paint the top.
The roof, yes, I agree.
The new paint looks good, but the roof, you know.
We knew that going in.
Is there a brick on top of that roof?
There was like some kind of like sand sprinkled on top of it,
Or
for
I'll
original.
have it painted.
I don't know.
And we do wanna get a logo on there eventually. We
Yeah.
just ran out of money this year in our budget for town plan for
You're
next
still
year.
spending.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mark, appreciate it. Mike Rinaldi is on the Mike Clark, our building inspector. I didn't forget you tonight, Mike.
There's nobody left.
No, there is, Kelly.
It's Kelly, sorry. Good evening, in your mailbox, current reports. Haven't done this in a while, and if you kind of page through it, it's in some sections. Starting off, I just wanted to kind of show off the residential housing starts. Those are questions that everybody keeps asking me, you know, throughout the year. There was no new housing that we started in January, but the last 4 months, you see we got 13 already active, there's another 3 sitting on my desk. And with all the other things that are opening up, I'm sure this number's gonna double before we get through the half of the year, so. That's an important number to see for us, this part of development. You'll see some of the complaint, forms in there too. The very last page is, few of the items are still in court. Don't look at the dates when they opened, but they are current. And also too, with Chris doing our fire inspections, we're back up to doing those again, bringing stuff up to speed. So there's a current list of what he's been running through, and you'll see that start to double too as he starts to progress. And our newest employee, which is Bill Youngman, is one class away from getting ready to be also a certified deputy inspector. So by the end of June, we'll have 2 deputies in zoning, fire, et cetera. So kind of gonna hit a pretty good one, you know, look at it.
Now, Wendell's doing our stormwater, whatever, you know, maintenance, or looking at, outfalls still. Will this Bill Youngman be taking
Right,
that?
Bill's ready to, and he's been taking some of the classing, and he's been working with Tim's took him under his wing, and he's been working with him. So we're getting close to
So
taking that back over.
that'll probably happen this year, probably?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Anybody have anything for Mike? Thank you.
Welcome.
Kelly? Our assessor. Love to go down with Mike.
So, we're just saying this last week ago, we had a lot of people file through this paperwork, but no one showed up.
Anybody here, Kelly? No? You either stay on
Well, with all the Article 7s that we have, and some of the Article 7s having multiple properties, we had 39 grievance forms filed. So, but the Summit Mall is like 23 altogether, I believe. I did do another follow-up inspection of the Summit Mall with GAR that we hired to do the preliminary appraisal for the Article 7 hearing. So I went on Friday afternoon, early morning, late morning, early afternoon, and did another walkthrough with them, and we're waiting the results of that preliminary appraisal. And the hearing was postponed until later in July, I believe.
I think it was July 21st, so
Yeah.
we'll have our appraisal by then.
Yeah. You want-
Yes. I talked to Kelly.
Yeah.
You're grinning.
So Larry,
About the STAR exemption.
It's a very difficult task. I thought about this all weekend long, okay? So, we have over 7,000 residential properties in our town. I can run a report for the people that are receiving the STAR exemption. And the people that are receiving the STAR exemption are anybody that purchased their house prior to March 1st of 2015. After March 1st of 2015, the residents then have to apply for the STAR credit with the state taxation and finance.
That's where we kind of lose our
Okay.
control.
So, I do get a report once a year from the state telling me who is eligible on the credit. And I can give you that report when I get it. I'll get it before final roll, which is July 1st. But thinking about this all weekend long, there's a lot of situations where people would not be eligible for a STAR with it's not their primary residence. Some of them receive the homestead exemption in Florida rather than receiving it here. Some people's incomes are over, or there's a lot of people that live with siblings and they would not be eligible for the enhanced STAR because of their age. Because, like, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. We do, send out notices every year. It is on the back of the school tax bill that if you are not receiving the STAR on this tax bill, please call our office. We do get calls every week over this, and, Melanie and I do try to, go through everything with them. And if we think they're eligible, we have them come in and we help them with the process. I fax things from the town hall to the state when the state sends them letters. I mail the information, I make the copies, and mail out the information for these people. I keep copies of it in my records, so if they show up on my report saying that they're not eligible, I have all the proof, and I send back, kind of strong emails to the state saying that I feel these people qualify, please explain why. And in the past 3 years that I've been here, I've added about 50 people to the STAR that have not been eligible for numerous years for certain reasons, and I fought with the state to get them. So it's not like I'm not advertising this, and I know that you had a tedious experience with it, but I think it's because you had the STAR on your old
Well,
house.
I'm not putting any fault on you, you're doing a great job.
No, I'm just thinking that yours was a little bit more difficult because they were trying to figure out where you were living, because you had the STAR on one house right next door to where you built your new house. So I think that they were just trying to find that information and get the proof that they needed. So I think that's why yours took a little bit longer. I don't think that every person has that experience. I mean, we have people call and say that they get stuck on a question. So we have them come in, and Melanie is a pro and now at, going on and applying for the STAR credit with the people. And she gets the confirmation, and she gives them a copy and puts a copy in their folder, so we know that they are. Is there people out there that don't have the STAR? Absolutely, 100%. But I don't know how to get them in here because it is advertised, it is on the school
And I
tax
know I
bill.
talked to John Shoemaker, and he didn't have a real good,
The more I thought about it all weekend long, I think it's gonna be a major headache.
let me summarize a little bit, because I don't know if the whole town board or everybody in the audience understands. But if you built your,
Keyboard is summarized.
I am summarizing. Don't fall asleep on me. But in 2015, the state took over the STAR, so where before that, everybody got it off on their school tax bill when their school tax bill came in September. So after 2015, you had to apply for the state, and you didn't get it off your tax bill anymore, they sent you a check.
And the state is trying trying to get rid of the exemption altogether. Every year, there's new rules. If you make over $250,000 in a year, you are automatically removed from the exemption, and they put you on the credit. And if your income is over the 93,000, sometimes they take you off and onto the credit. There's different rules every year. They're just trying to get less people on the exemption, and they do say that the people that are receiving the STAR credit, your check will go up like 2% every year, where the exemption will not.
And our assessor's office, they're great for handling
So, I mean, if
the
there's
current
anybody
program, but if you have to
out
call the state,
Right.
you get a different person every time you call there. I started in September, and this isn't because Larry had a long time getting, I'm trying to help residents that maybe just gave up on the whole process. And I think there's more than one, but I guarantee you, there's people out there that are due STAR money, their check, but they just, like I started in September, and I didn't get my check until May.
Larry, I have residents that I've been fighting with the state for 2 years now. And I just had one resident where he was eligible for enhanced STAR, but last year they only gave him the basic STAR amount. And I, sent emails constantly to them, made phone calls, everything. This year's STAR credit check, he received his enhanced STAR and the money they owed him from last year. So, I mean, I do really try to fight for our
But it's
residents.
something that the county in your office, you can help them fill out applications, but you can't tell them where they stand in the process.
I can't babysit everybody, and a lot of things are, in my office, I don't know people's ages. Like, the politicians, like in, Senator Orr and stuff, they send out mailings every February for the people that are turning 65. Because of those voter registrations, they know their ages. I do not. So I would love to be able to contact the people that are going to be turning 65 so they can get the enhanced rather than the basic. But I don't have that information. The state will not give it to us. And I can call the state and say, does this person, receive the credit? And they will tell me yes or no, but they won't tell me if it's basic or enhanced. Like, they won't tell the assessors all the information we need.
Well, I guess where we're at is where we're gonna stay.
I think we should just advertise it more, maybe put it on the town website, maybe we'll put it in the Tribune or something, that if you think you're eligible for STAR and you're having a difficult time, please call our office. But I don't really think we should go and try to find these people that are, eligible for it.
But, Kelly, it's probably not a bad idea to maybe once or twice a year, something from the assessor's office.
That's fine.
Maybe people,
Okay.
as far as us trying to do it, I think it's more than something possible, and great time.
It's hard to know if someone lives in Florida, then they're not even eligible either.
Right.
So if we could put something in the Tribune.
Okay.
At the appropriate time, you make the decision, let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry for the long.
Awesome. All right, town constables.
No report, Don.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing while I have you up there, Bob. This past Saturday, we had a paint collection in, not recycling, the shredding at the town hall. They had 725 vehicles going through here. And I just want to compliment the constables and how they handle the traffic. It was unbelievable. I mean, when I tried to get out of here, there was cars all the way down the road, down Warren Road, and some on the boulevard. It was just amazing. And they had 600 registered, but 725 cars came through here from, well, it's supposed to be from 10 to 1, but they were here at 8, of course. But the constables did a great job. There was a few glitches, obviously, but they did a great job. So if you pass it on to your men,
I will do that.
I appreciate it. Tim Zuber, Wendell Engineers.
It is on, right?
Just seems very quiet.
Well, good evening. We have just one thing on our agenda for you this evening, and that is the Western Street subdivision. As you've all been aware, over the last year, the subdivision has been on, under construction. But they have now, completed all the water and sanitary installation, and those certificates have been approved by the Niagara County Health Department. And the storm sewer, roads, curb and gutters, everything are in. This subdivision originally was gonna be phased, but it was decided later on to just do the whole thing at once, which was kinda cool, because they got rid of having temporary turnarounds and all the temporary phasing, so. So the subdivision will actually get 41 single-family lots, and 2 of those are fronting on Hoover, 4 of them are fronting on Lockport Road, and that's the subdivision. So, we have gone through all the documents, and, as of the writing of this letter, I did have in here, the maintenance bond still must be reviewed and approved. I can say that, both Matt and I have reviewed the maintenance bond a couple times today, just barring them actually putting the dates of the maintenance bond, which will be around 7 today. That's the last sheet that we're waiting for, so those will be set. Our motion kind of corresponds with our letter. We had 10 different conditions that we put in here, as a result of our recommendation of approval. The first one has to deal with making sure that the speedies permit for construction activities remains covered. That's making sure the site's stabilized. Anything that's been hyperseeded that doesn't take is gonna need to have it reapplied until we do get standard grass there and then it's stable. Another condition is the developer and their attorney will be responsible for filing right-of-way documents and road dedication documents and getting a signed file copy of that to the town. This subdivision was required to develop a lighting district, and that lighting district was formed. They're just waiting on the actual light installation to occur, which is supposed to be in the next couple months.
Hopefully within a month.
So we did put a condition in here for end of August 31, August 31st for the install line. But depending on National Grid's progress, it could be sooner. The next 3 comments in here, 5, 6, and 7, they're really just statements in here so that we don't forget about which rear yard swales were put in and brought to final grade and stabilized. Usually with our subdivisions, the rear yard drains are left high and they're cut down to final grade each time the lot is built. This one, the rear yard swales are there to intercept water coming onto the property from off-site, and we wanted to make sure that those were in place and working to redirect that around and not into the backyards and houses as they were under construction. So those were actually put in the final grade and stabilized. Our condition 8, these were things that are in our town specification for each subdivision. It's just that the town water sewer department be provided with some extra hydrant wrenches, valve box wrenches, and curb box wrenches. Condition 9 is the stabilization or rip-wrapping of the swale that goes into the pond on the west side. I know that was actually completed on Friday, and I checked on that today. And the last item has to deal with the mailbox units. And per my discussions with the town, we put in the condition in here that still the town stands that these cluster mailboxes are not allowed within the town right away. And basically put in a condition that no building permits should be issued until such time that the mailbox situation is resolved to the satisfaction of the town. And the curbing repair satisfaction to highway superintendent. So. Yes, they are. I wanted to go through them specifically because there's some that were in general, but there were some that were kind of quite specific over events of the past couple of weeks.
I had a question. I drove through yesterday. It looked beautiful, the paving, the curb, everything. It looks nice. There was one pile of, I would say, rocks, unsuitable material on the west side. What are the plans for that?
Plan to haul out most of it. Some of the bigger, larger rocks are probably gonna leave there. A lot of times, residents will wanna use them in landscaping or kind of placed around there. So, as you know, the community's got some rock underneath, Probably be more that comes up through basement excavation and whatnot. If it's unsightly, we'll just get rid of it. Right now, we're trying to find a home for it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people want those rocks.
Yeah.
I just don't want us to be 5 years from now, and there's weeds and trees and everything else growing.
No.
I don't know how we regulate that, but is it in the, would it be safe to say within a year or two, it would be cleaned up?
Yes, that's very safe to say. I'd say within the next month or two, it'll be cleaned up.
Anything else?
No, that's.
Good, thank you, Tim. Okay, town contact, any reports?
As far as veterans go, we are continuing to work on our July 1st event. That's coming along real well. Don't foresee any problems at this point. However, you never know what you don't know. But in any event, everything looks good. And again, as I always say, everybody from the town board is certainly invited. And please, grandchildren, friends, neighbors, please bring anybody you possibly can. Out at the shelter, some of the benches that were there, pretty bad condition. The spots where you sit were cracked. A lot of that was exposed. It really wasn't in good shape. So I got a hold of Mike Rinaldi, and I'm sorry he's not here today because I'd like to thank him. But he changed all those out. So we have all the benches and everything are in really nice shape. They're all painted. Looks really good job on the department. If I may, and if I'm speaking out of turn, please say so right away. I'm also a lion here. John Wakefield Lion. So I'm changing hats, going from veterans to lion right now.
Tom, while you're on veterans, can I just say something?
Yes.
I noticed at Home Depot, they have wooden pine, that's good. And nobody's done great. Picnic tables for $149. I'm just thinking maybe, pick up a few of those for sitting in the parking lot for people, and it's probably hot. For that price, that's not bad.
We are having a tent, along with tables and chairs. That's already been taken care of.
I'm just saying, for picnic tables, $149.
Not a bad deal, really. All right, getting back to the Lions. Lions is not an organization that's flush with cash by any means. I think everybody's aware of that. On the Lions property, they have a pond in the back. The pond has unfortunately been neglected for many, many years due to elderly lions, and a lot of other things that have come up through the years. No excuses for it, but it is what it is. I'm asking the board if they would consider permission for highway department to go in around the pond and clean that pond out. I have two pictures here, one on the front, one in the back. You can see the overgrowth. That bridge should be free and clear of everything, and it's not. And what I would like to do is, since highway has probably the best equipment going, I was gonna ask Paul that at his convenience, on a one-time only, I don't want this to be a yearly fix-up at the Lions, not meant to be that. One time, go in, clean the pond out as best they can, and leave it at that. The Lions can't do it anymore, it's way beyond.
We'll have to talk to our attorney about the possible making a part of the shared service agreement that we did with the region. I think we do have a shared service agreement with them, so if you do have that, there's no reason why we can't. It's just a matter of this time of the year, having Paul's availability.
It would be.
Have you run it by Paul, you know?
I started talking to him a little bit about it, and we stopped kind of abruptly because Paul does not want to say anything or proceed, which is a wise thing to do, until I bring it up to the board. If he has the board's approval, which is what he's looking for, then he will schedule it. And again, we're not asking for any particular time frame, it's when Paul has the equipment available. And to help him out a little bit, I did talk to Art Kronig. Everybody's aware of who Art Kronig is. Art will be the resident engineer when Paul has his men there, Arlo, kind of supervise.
This new grant that the Lions Club is getting, what in particular is this grant gonna renovate or build, or what's the build out?
That grant is for a dock, and other apparatus that will allow any handicapped people to enter the pond.
So will that grant be cleaning up any of the pond edge?
No,
But they're putting in a dock?
yes. Now, the contractor, and I don't have his name, the contractor that they're using will clean out that area where the dock is going to go, of course, because he needs to. He's got to put foundations and other things in there. But he's not scheduled to do any additional work other than that.
Later there's I'll make the motion to allow, town employees to, remove debris from the edge of the pond, under the shared service agreement, at a time selected by the department. I'll make that motion. Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, everybody.
I see you putting up a few signs.
Yeah, more this week, more this week.
Okay, Dean Godfrey. Legislator.
Updates on 3 resolutions we passed at the last legislative meeting. The first one was a local law having to do with off-road vehicles, illegal to run on any, quote, public right-of-way or property or park or anything. That is in Albany, waiting to be filed, registered, if you will. We have not heard back from Albany yet. Once it is, then our sheriff's department and local law enforcement will be able to enforce it. County clerk will alert me when that takes place. Again, we don't know how long it's going to be. So, our EMS, as far as our first responders are concerned, which is great concern, we passed a resolution to contract with Mercy EMS, that's Mercy Flight's ground crew. They will start in June, end of June through the end of October, supplying 2 paramedic level rigs to the county to respond in support of our volunteers. This is not to be construed as the county taking over or doing cities or anything. This is simply to be a support to our volunteers to help get through the period between the closure of Eastern Niagara and Catholic Health getting their hospital open in Lockport. Talking about the county EMS and what they're going to do, Jonathan Schultz is moving in that direction. We have an EMS director working under him. The resolution at the last meeting was to contract with a contractor out of Rochester who will come in and do a complete assessment of exactly where we are in the way of a county and what is the best model moving forward to help alleviate the response times that we are all suffering across the whole country as far as our end is concerned. So those contracts are now in its final review, both for the Mercy EMS and the consultants to do an evaluation and make recommendations for where the county wants to go going forward, once we get later in the fall. So that's where we're at. Questions?
Any questions for Dave, folks?
Thank you.
Motion, Matt Brooks.
We have that first motion that, Tim mentioned from Wendell, regarding the administration motion to accept the completed CIP improvements for pavement and curbs, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and water line for the Whistling Strait subdivision with the following conditions. Number 1, all applicable requirements of SPDES general permit for stormwater discharge and construction activity must be completed and complied with the inspections and prompt correction of identified deficient items are required while lots are being developed. All disturbed areas of the site must be stabilized. If temporary stabilization fails to germinate and grow, additional seeding will be required to fully stabilize the site. Individual house construction must follow the requirements outlined in New York State standards and specifications for erosion and sediment control, Appendix E, erosion control for small residential sites. Number 2, the developer and their attorney will be responsible for filing right of way, roadway dedication, and all easements, drainage and sanitary sewer, and must provide the town attorney with a copy of the documents prior to the issuance of any new building permit. Number three, the maintenance bond must be reviewed and approved by both the town engineer and the town attorney. Number four, the required lighting district has been finalized, but the 6 light standards have not yet been installed, and the development must work with National Grid to get these lights installed as soon as possible, but by August 31st, 2023 at the latest. If installation is not completed by the state, the town may suspend the issuance of any building permits until the lights have been installed. Number five, rear yard swales for lots 15 to 20 and 21 to 31 have been installed, the final grade have been seeded. BYRCVRS have been cut to the final grade requiring no further modification. Future construction of houses on these lots must not disturb the invert and side slopes of these swales. Number six, BYRCVRS for lots 31 through 41 have been left extended one grade. Each riser is marked with a length to be cut to achieve final grade during the final home construction. Cut inflow is marked on each riser. Number seven, final grading of each lot along lot lines must correspond with the proposed final grade of each adjacent lot. The proposed final grade will in most cases be different than the existing grade. Number eight, per town specifications and as discussed in the pre-construction meeting, the project must provide 2 hydrant operating wrenches, 1 6-foot valve box operating wrench key, and 2 curb stop operating keys to the town water sewer department. Number nine, at the swale entry to the pond, northeast corner of the pond near lot 6 and 7 common lot line, there has been erosion of sediment into the retention pond. The development contractor must excavate the material that has been deposited along the edge of the pond, reshape the swale from top bank to pond surface, and install medium stone fill, riprap in the swale as shown on plans to prevent erosion in this area. Number 10, nail cluster box units are not allowed in the town right of way. No building permits will be issued until the nail delivery system is resolved for the satisfaction of the town, and the curb gutter sections that have been cut to accommodate the cluster box units are restored to the satisfaction of the town highway department.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
And a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next one, next motion from Wendell to accept the road dedication, drainage easements, and sanitary sewer easements associated with the Whistling Straits subdivision.
Your motion, please.
So moved.
I'll make the second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion from Water Sewer Department to authorize the request of Mark Clark, Water Sewer Superintendent, to hire to Kyle Table as MEO for the Water Sewer Department, being an internal transfer from the Highway Department, to start at Water Sewer on June 5th, 2023, with a 30-day trial period. Set hire into the rate of pay and terms pursuant to the job specifications of Water Sewer District's MEO, and pending approval of human resources. No Niagara County criminal background check is required if the employee is currently with the town. So moved.
Second. Motion and second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion from the town board of Refill Enhancement Volunteers, resolved to approve and authorize the request of the Refill Enhancement Volunteers to authorize and approve the ordering and purchase of a round logos for the ward wall Cooper sign at $1,665. B, X1 black cut aluminum letters for the Whitmer wall for Cooper sign at $4,145. And C, plain tracker and leaf fixtures for Ward and Whitmer walls from Nellis, price to be determined for the walls and leaf field project of Ward and Whitmer Road to be paid from the leaf field enhancement volunteers 2023 budget.
So moved.
Second.
And a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Just on the motion here, so the TBD, we don't know exactly what that's gonna be yet, and now yet, all the pictures, but we expect it to be under $5,000, so I don't know if just approve it here, or if we have to do a second motion.
I suppose it'd probably be best when that fee comes in, approve it at that point.
Okay.
So we we could, I guess, eliminate that particular one from the, motion at this point.
Ken, did you get that? We're gonna
So
eliminate.
that's for the plane tractor.
That will be eliminated from the resolution.
Everything after 4,145.
Everything?
Well,
Except-
until
Just
TBD.
TBD, yeah.
Until TBD. Okay, next one from the Recreation Department, resolved to hire Addison Homestead as summer seasonal help at tennis camp July 10th to July 15th. At a rate of pay and terms pursuant to the job specifications of the Recreation Department seasonal help, summer camp staff, pending approval of Human Resources and the Niagara County Criminal Background Check.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion from the assessor and town attorney, resolved to approve and authorize the town attorney to sign and execute the stipulated order of the tax assessment case of Well Tower OM LLC versus the town of Wheatfield et al. Just so everyone knows, Well Tower is the medical facility across from the mall on Williams Road that used to have some gym. Is that where they used to have that?
Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
And a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion from the Highway Department, resolved to authorize and approve the request of Paul Seaman, Highway Superintendent, to hire Nicole Ritter as an account clerk for the Highway Department, taken from the Niagara County Civil Service list with a start date yet to be determined at a rate of pay and terms pursuant to the job specifications of an account clerk for the Highway Department, pending approval of Human Resources and the Niagara County Criminal Background Check.
So moved.
Second.
And a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion, again from the Highway Department, resolve to authorize and approve the request of Paul Signa, Highway Superintendent, to hire Jacob Stoltney as summer seasonal help or labor for the Highway Department, rate of pay and terms pursuant to the job spec for summer seasonal help labor for the Highway Department, pending approval of Human Resources and the Niagara County Criminal Background Check. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next one, motion from Water and Sewer, resolved to authorize the request of Mark Clark, Water Sewer Superintendent, to hire seasonal help with Randy Mack starting June 8th, 2023, at a rate of pay and terms pursuant to job specs of Water Sewer Department seasonal help and pending approval of Human Resources and Niagara County Criminal Background Check.
So moved.
Second. And a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Again, from Water and Sewer, resolved to authorize the request of Mark Clark, Water and Sewer Superintendent, to move Noah Walker up from the Water Sewer 1 position to the Water Sewer 2 position, effective June 6th, 2023.
So moved.
And a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion, again, from Water Sewer, resolved to accept the high bids received for the following surplus on American Auctions. Number one, the 2005 GMC Sierra 3500 4x4 dump truck with plow for the amount of $8,300. And number two, Ford tow behind owning generators for the amount of $3,850.
Second. And a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
And next motion, from the town clerk and town supervisor, resolved to authorize the purchase of an ID card system to be used for all town employees. Will require photo ID from Lynn Star. The cost of the system is $1,670.
Motion, please.
So moved.
And I'll make the second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
And that would be it for the motions.
Thank you, Matt. Board members, Larry Howard.
I think I had my questions all answered before the motions, so I'm
I'm
good.
gonna skip them all together when you say.
You did?
You got anywhere?
No.
You're good? Okay, Bill Doucette.
Burkos Fire Company would like to add Chris Cooper Boyle as an active firefighter, and I'll make that motion.
And a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And that's it,
Clerk Doctor.
Just thank you to Supervisor Swan for referring Karen Keith from Niagara Municipal Tribune over to us. She put together a really nice article that is in the Tribune this week, and really appreciate that referral. And then secondly, we did get a call from the DOT today. They're thinking about our walls, our future walls at Ward and Whitmer, and they asked us to come by and take a look at some color swatches, and Rita swung by and picked out a color to match our Nash wall. The other piece of news to report there is they're not gonna paint the wall like our Nash wall is, it's gonna actually be color concrete. So from a maintenance standpoint, that should really help us for years to come.
I just comment on the wall on Nash Road. I've received so many compliments, people from all over on that wall. And how it did bring great deals to that. It really has. And I think the other two walls, I think will really help all of us. So Rita, Tom, Kirk, a lot of compliments. I know they don't say it enough, but a lot of people say, oh, we love that wall. And they do. So it's great. Good things happen. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead. That's all. Let's see, Randy Redlaw. Okay. And for change, I have nothing. How's that? Any more public input, anyone? Any comments? Next meeting is June 19th. Who was the bill?
Is it the bill pay?
Bill pay only. So our next regular board meeting will be July 10th, I believe.
The third is a Monday.
Yeah, so I think it's, I believe it's July 10th, which is a, yeah, July 10th will be our next normal town board meeting. Payment of bills on June 19th. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
And second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks. Before you leave, you got a minute?
Yeah.